Hello, hello. Hi, welcome in. Welcome to our Soul Journey podcast. So, that's the wonderful podcast you have clicked on and are listening to right now. Hi, I'm Lola. I'm the creator and the host of this podcast. I've been in the spiritual space for about 10 years now. I've seen many sides of it. I'm a tarot reader, I'm an empath, and I'm someone who just loves learning how to live a more soul-led life. This show's purpose is to help you become more comfortable within your spiritual journey. I think today we're seeing many people's spiritual journeys, and there's many creators who are pushing others and pointing others and expressing their journey as being the way to do it. But in reality, everyone's spiritual journey is unique to them. And that is what I say in the intro every time. And it is so true. And that is what I want you to know if you leave with anything here that your spiritual journey is going to be unique to you. All right. So if you haven't already, go ahead and like the video, share the video, leave a comment, introduce yourself into our community. I would love to say hi to you. I'd love to welcome you into our next episode. And go ahead and subscribe. It's just that little button right there. Just- So, welcome in, guys. How are you doing this week? We are in the midst of March and it is crazy. This Mercury retrograde, fucking wild. Well, let me tell you. Oh my God. I didn't even have an ex come back, but I had this rando who I apparently matched with on Tinder like a long time ago, ended up texting me and then he was like super gross. He was very pushy, just not a gentleman, not at all, and nasty. Left a icky icky vibes. And then obviously all around the country, we have Orange Man in the White House choosing to go to war with another country for absolutely no fucking reason. That's crazy. I mean, that's all that's really been highlighted in my Mercury retrograde. I will say, so I've been working on yoga. I'm finally getting to anatomy and anatomical terms for it. So finally, I just got finished with going over yogic philosophy, and oh my God, where has this been all my life? I literally cried when I read over it, and now I'm moving towards anatomical terminology. I forget I forget the correct name for it, but we're going over, our skeleton, our bones, everything like that, which is pretty fun. I voted this morning. Young people, you need to vote. I voted this morning, bright and early, 7 a.m., because I actually have to go to work in an hour. And since I woke up, I was not going to go back to sleep. So I'm here recording now, but I'm so happy to have voted. I did not vote, I think, in the last primary elections. Whatever election this was, I did not vote in the last one. I voted in both presidential elections. This is the first smaller election I voted in. And I kicked myself last time for not voting. I didn't even realize, actually, that we had an election. Yeah, I know. So now I'm here. I voted, and I'm so happy. I saved my I voted stickers. I only started this after I voted for Kamala. I started saving the stickers and I just wrote on the back of the paper who I voted for on the back. So now I have two stickers. Yeah, that's basically been it. So tell me about your week in the comments. Let me know if you had any spiritual epiphanies. Let me know if you did anything interesting, anything you'd like to share with our little community over here. We are all learning and growing souls, and I would love to hear it. Other than that, let's get into the video this week. Let's get some background. Let's get the where did this inspo come from? Because sometimes I know right before, and sometimes I know days before, and this was an episode where I was like, days before. I know it. So, I think it was actually right after I uploaded my last video, my last podcast video. And I was like, what do I want to do? I want to do something over emotions. And I was like, oh my God, using your emotions as a guide. It's talked about, it's not always explained thoroughly. And the concept, I think many people can understand, but the application isn't always so smooth. And it's not going to be, but telling about my experience and using my emotions now as a guide instead of the controller is in my life is a lot different. And frankly, I think my quality of life has improved. My body feels better, my brain feels better, my heart feels better. Everything feels better, not just emotionally, but like mentally, physically, spiritually, actually, has been a very big change with that, using my emotions as a guide. So, where I actually got the inspiration from, where I actually found out about this, I learned about it years ago in my spiritual awakening, but it kind of just got tossed to the wayside because what had taken over, a lot of the messages that had taken over had been you need to learn and work with your empathic abilities. Like, this is something that you really need to take control of. And I did do that. And I didn't do it continuously. And it wasn't something I had done well, I would say, consistently either. But I did do it. And when I did do it, it over time, once I actually started to accept myself again and again within the spiritual space and just with my abilities, that's when I was able to regulate myself a lot more through my empathic abilities. And then over the past few years, I've gotten more into spirituality again. And while it never completely left, there were times it was there, and then there were times it was super, super strong. And now it's super, super strong. There is this incredible author, and she's amazing. She's a lot of things, but I know her as an author and a podcast host. Her name is Sonia Choquette. I actually ended up listening to her podcast. I'm so glad she has a podcast because she just has so much knowledge and wisdom to share as someone who has just practiced spiritual living. We'll phrase that her whole life. And I love it. One thing she mentioned in her podcast that has stuck with me for a while now. Because once I heard it with her, that's when I don't know, I feel like my soul just took it and was like, yes, we're doing that. Was to use your emotions as a guide. And once she said that, I was like, yeah. It wasn't the first time I'd heard of it, but it was the first time in a while I'd heard of it, and I completely forgotten about it. And it's something I've actually been practicing over the years. I just didn't realize it, and now I have a term for it. So let's do some background. Let's do some background on Lola because this is not how I've always been. I grew up an empathic child. Many people are empaths and they don't realize it, and I will go onto the top of the hill and scream it from the hill. I'm so serious. And it's not anything bad, it's not anything scary. It just means you have the ability to feel others' energy. And with that, you also feel their emotions. You also feel, sometimes you can feel things that aren't said. Uh, what they're thinking. There's many things can happen when you're an empath. The energy is a very, very big one. And so growing up as an empathic child, not going into not really knowing what I'm supposed to do. All that was done in my house was sage cleansing, of which I won't even use in my room because that's an indigenous practice and I'm not touching that. So as a child, I was taking on my family's energy. I was taking on my teacher's energy. I was taking on my classmates' energy. I was feeling their emotions. And if you grow up in a household with people whose emotions are unregulated, and they themselves don't feel in control, oftentimes that is something you feel as well. And it is not your fault, it's not their fault, it's just something that happens as we are energetic beings. And when you're growing up as an empathic child without the ability that you know of or techniques or tools in your back pocket to be like, no energy, we're not doing this today. Or no, I feel my emotions, or putting up an energetic grid, or using crystals to grid out your room, which go check out that last video. Literally one of my favorite things I ever did as a teenager. It helped me so much energetically. It it can be incredibly hard. It can be incredibly hard. And not being able to like regulate my energy and differentiate my energy and my thoughts and myself from other people's energy was something that really contributed to the fact that I had a hard time regulating my own emotions. It contributed to my own emotional intelligence a lot more than anything else for a long time. And so I'd say it wasn't until I was a teenager when I finally got most of my empathic abilities at least tamed. Under control could be used as well. When my relationship to spirituality kind of, I wouldn't say broke down a little bit, but when there just wasn't a strong connection to it, I actually learned a lot of emotional intelligence to that. I actually learned a lot of ways to regulate my own emotions, learning to feel my emotions and then let go of them, and learning to control them, which would be the third one. Learning to control them contributed quite a bit to where I am now, to using them as a guide. See, when you're an empath, you really, 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 I can't say really more times than this. I mean it when I say really. You really need to learn how to differentiate your energy from others' energy, and you need to learn how to not take on others' energy unwillingly. This is a serious skill set. Using your emotions as a guide involves allowing your emotions to flow through you. When you're an empath and you aren't putting an energetic shield up, which I'm going to be so real, I'm not the greatest at it, and I'm not bad at it. I'm bad at remembering, and I use other things. But that is something my guides are getting onto me about, and I know I need to do it. I've been doing it lately. A lot of my learning and emotional intelligence and emotional control has been just learning my empathic abilities and learning what's too much, learning what's too little, learning what I need to do, what feels good for me, what protects me. Those all have been involved in learning my own way to control my emotions and use them as a guide. And once you've gotten that settled, once you know logically, like, this is how energy affects me, this is what I think, feel, say, do, etc., 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 then we're going to listen to our emotions. We're going to need to journal through this, right? Okay. So you need to get a journal. Don't use the apps in your phone if you can help it. If you're someone who needs to use the notes app in your phone, go for it. I do recommend writing it down. There's a lot of power in our written word and our spoken word and our thoughts. So write it down if you can, but obviously, if you can't, definitely use the notes app in your phone. And so when we use our emotions as a guide, we're going to feel them through. We want to be grounded. That's going to come with learning your empathic abilities. We want to remain grounded and balanced. So when our emotions go up, we don't lose our sense of control with it, which can be very hard. An example is like blowing up and getting angry at someone for whatever reason and just letting your emotions run through you instead of controlling them, observing them, and thinking rationally through it. It's just one example, there's plenty more. Using your emotions as a guide means, yes, you're feeling them, but you're observing them, and you're not following through with action based on a temporary feeling. The difference between emotions and intuition is very soul led. It's connected to our human body. Like, sometimes you'll feel intuition, but your intuition will never misguide you. Your intuition feels very different than your emotions. Promise. And also, like I said, you'll feel your intuition in your body. Your emotions, you may just feel that in your head. You may just feel that in your entire body. And typically, your emotions, especially the ones that aren't super positive, you're not going to feel great either, especially when you start to once you start to differentiate energy from different energy, like differentiating positive energy from negative energy, from chaotic energy, from stale energy. When you differentiate those, that also helps a lot with your emotional control and your emotional using your emotions as a guide. Another thing to take into account is when we're using our emotions as a guide and we're being observant, we're letting them flow through. And it also helps when you learn to regulate and know your abilities, when you allow your emotions to just flow through you and out of you, it helps to not act on them and it helps to release them. And afterwards, whether that's a few seconds, minutes, hours, even months later, we can reflect on these emotions that will help to use them as a guide. We want to ask ourselves questions when we journal, like, what was a trigger that made me feel this way? What circumstances in my life are being highlighted right now? And how are my emotions playing into it? What does my mindset look like when X, Y, or Z happens? How does that differentiate from my norm? Do I think this is an appropriate way to follow through on some actions? Questions like that are really insightful, and learning from your emotions is part of that. Using them as a guide for your life, for your day to day, is really cool. The more you use this, the more you'll find that you'll know what you want and you'll know what you don't want. I grew up in an environment where I learned to act on my emotions. There wasn't much rationalization or logic being had, not to say that there was none at all. There was a level of logic and rationalization, but typically choices came down to emotions. And yes, that can be okay sometimes. Like, you should absolutely love who you're going to love, but don't love someone who doesn't have your best interest at heart. But that's an example, love should be a guide. Like, yeah, that should absolutely be involved. But I did grow up in an environment where emotions were not or emotions were the main decision maker in most things. And learning how to not carry that with me through my life, because I did not like it growing up. It's looking back, literally was the cause of so much chaos that I felt, so much energy just all the time when it didn't need to be that way. I mean, many things don't require an emotion to go alongside it or be emotionally driven. That's something I wanted to point out. I wanted to make the episode today because I wish I knew this. Like, I wish someone would have told me your decisions don't need to be emotionally led. Like, use your emotions as a guide. Your logic and rationalization is just as important, if not more important, as your ability to recognize and feel your emotions. Emotions are temporary, and logic can change, but your emotions are just a temporary representation of what you're feeling. And if they last long term, then you need to go journal about it. You need to figure out why, especially if it's feelings of regret, guilt, pain, that can be signs of trauma. There can be other signs too, but that can be signs of trauma. These are things, and that's a great example of using your emotions as a guide. Maybe you wouldn't have known logically that you had trauma, but if you're depressed and feel a little guilty, that can, and long term, without one major pinpoint in recent time, then that can be a sign of trauma. And trauma can be recent too, but just just an example. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today. Using your emotions as a guide instead of making decisions on them. Recognize your empathic traits and abilities, recognize how they work with you, recognize being grounded, and then letting emotions flow through you, recognizing what they are, journaling about them, and then taking action on the rational path through them, around them, to them, whatever it may look like. Other than that, go ahead and comment if you have any questions about this, if you'd like to know more. Um, anything like that, I would love to comment and help you out with, and anyone in our little community would love to as well. Don't forget to go ahead, like, share, subscribe. If you're on Spotify, save the episode. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. It's our Soul Journey podcast. And then, like I said, go ahead and leave a little comment, leave a star. I'd love to say hi to you. Until next week, I'll see you later. Lots of love, lots of practice. I wish you the best of luck. I'm excited for you. Until next week.